Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. So I'm saving the YouTube live for the second one.
Oh, good. So I can watch it like
Yes.
later. I can
It will
replay it.
be in, yes, after you
Cool.
finish. So if you can't find the link, it's on Eventbrite, but I think it's
Okay.
in a different one. So I'm not sure if you just DM me on
Okay.
Instagram. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so
Nice to
much.
meet you. Thank you so much. Okay.
I need a minute to hit the bathroom too.
Okay. Can we put this on the, just on the tripod and have it here? Because I'll just do the consultation. Actually, we could just have it here for a little while. Hi.
Hi, I'm Inez.
Inez, nice to meet
I'm
you.
Eri's wife.
Yes. Nice to meet you.
you.
Thank you so much for letting me use the space.
Of course. That looks good from there.
Thank you. It's gorgeous here.
Oh, thanks.
Beautiful
Do you want me
salon.
to remove this plant from here? So it's not in your
I
way?
don't think it'll be in the shot.
Yeah, we could just move it over a little bit.
If it's in
Just,
the way, I can move it. Doesn't have to be there. So you're doing one more haircut and then hands-on?
yeah, so I'm not really sure who,
Is anyone doing hands-on?
I don't think so. Yeah, so
Oh,
we'll.
you're live. No, I need someone to hold this for another
Yeah, no
second.
problem. Inez, how about can I give you this just to hold?
Of course.
Christine. Hi. Hi, Marina. Nice to meet you. Come on over. I'm gonna have you sit right here. Okay. See? Nice hair you got. Okay, that's okay. No more judge, no judgment. Especially before the haircut. We'll judge after the haircut. Okay. All right, and what's your first name?
I'm Hailey.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm from Finland originally.
Oh,
Yeah.
bunch of foreigners over here. Where are you from?
Bosnia.
Okay. Oh, you guys met there or here?
No, here.
Ah. Wow.
Yeah.
I have a girl who works with me from Bosnia.
Oh, really?
Yes, Marina. Okay, so let's have our consultation. So again, new client, hi, my name is Marina, nice to meet you. You're in for a haircut. Is there something specific you are looking to do today?
Not really. I think just a trim. I'm down with a little length, not too much though, because I think I'm trying to grow it out. But to whatever degree you want to take some off, just to kind of shape is fine.
Okay.
Maybe like it feels like there's some heaviness maybe in the back here. Like it's a little grown out the layers, so lightening that up. I feel like the original cut is kind of like I don't want to say a little mullety, like a little mullety shaggier. Yeah. So it's like a little grown out from that. I really liked the cut, so just kind of restoring it, and then a little trim, bang trim.
Okay, so you literally said exactly what I needed to hear. So too heavy, looks a little more classic. So it was nice to have a little more body here, a little bit skinnier here to kind of get rid of more of the fuller silhouette. This is more like the silhouette that Sarah just got, where this is the fuller version. We want this to be higher up, and then this is skinnier, so it kind of follows the curvature of the head, so that it looks more like a light bulb shape, and then we like with that bubbly feeling. And then we like the fringe. We really like the last haircut, so I could see there's some shorter pieces here. So if you put your hair up in the ponytail, you want to see some shorter.
Yeah, I love having some little pieces.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. And then a little bit shorter in here. I like the amount of fringe that you have. Any more, I think it's going to give you feels like a headache on the forehead.
I like it. I actually like how it is. I like the heaviness.
I agree. Yeah, so I think a little bit shorter in here, a little more textured, so it can kind of spring up and the curls can do their own thing. A little bit shorter in here. I do like the length. I would even say I think if you took it up, now you have a really cute bob, and you can go go into like a little fringe bob even. But if you're growing it, it would be nice to even have these pieces a little bit longer. So I don't actually have to touch the length unless it's unhealthy, but I don't see this. So I think this length is here is perfect. I think the length in the back is the same as the front, but because there is so much hair here, it makes it look like it's longer than the front, right? Because the shoulders kind of propping that hair up. So if a client comes in and says, I'm not liking what I have, I'm going to check to see what they look like without the haircut so that I know how to do the same thing. Because right, they just said don't do the same thing. If a client comes in and says, I like the shape, then I'm going to check so that I could see the kind of the bigger picture of what was already done, and then just alter the shape a little bit so that it's better than the last haircut. Because if a client is sitting in your chair and saying, I like my previous haircut, then A, that hairdresser move, stop doing hair dye, you know, whatever. Usually if the clients stop coming to us, they're all dead. Because no one stops coming to us unless they die. So, because why would they ever stop coming to us? Right?
Serious.
So, but if a client is sitting, then something went missing. I'm certainly not going to be asking all these questions. So I want to see what the stylist did prior, and then did a better job to make sure the client's coming back to me. Especially if it's a fun haircut and a cool client that I want in my chair. If it's like a Karen, is that a thing here in Vermont? Mm-hmm. I have a lot of Karens, and I don't want any more. So those,
Enough of Karens.
yeah. So I'm gonna see what was done here. And again, from the previous haircut, we talked about vertical shape. So the vertical shape, you can see, it goes from short to long until here. That's the line technique. So which means the line technique was cut, however it was cut, it looks pretty textured. It could be because it's been a little while from the haircut, or it could be done with a razor, it could be done dry, whatever the case is. That's the line technique. And then from here, you can see that there's more movement on the top, some texture in here, and then everything was cut to here. So it's great because it creates this nice little layer right here, but all of this hair to reach my fingers, look how long that has to be. So what happens, by the time it drops, your short to long becomes pretty severe. This is popping out, and it's giving you this little corner right here. If I get rid of that corner, leave the length, you could see the difference in the silhouette, right? So it gets fuller here, and then skinnier. And then the shorter hair is going to give us the foundation to get more body up here, right? Big difference. All it is from here. Yeah, so now if Christine has slightly wavier hair, if there was an actual ringlet, but not necessarily curly, still wavy, and there was no claw clip that was involved, I would put my comb down, take a vertical section, and then dry cut the shape that I want to see. Shampoo, style, and then fix up whatever doesn't belong. So I would want to work in the natural state of that hair. If the hair is a little bit on the straighter side, I find creating soft lines in that sort of in-between lengths, in between texture, becomes really hard because every imperfection is going to show up. So if this hair falls at some point a little bit straighter, you're going to see those disconnections between the two sections. So I think this length is, or the Christine's texture is perfect for half dry, half wet haircut, not soaking wet, so I'm able to lift and see what I'm creating. So I found that the back is probably going to have the most amount of work because it's so heavy here. Paying attention how much I'm leaving and what I am connecting it to. The front already looks good, and you can see the silhouette of the haircut, right? It's pretty skinny, and it's framing the face really nicely. We definitely want to leave this. This is a trim. I'm going to do a lot of detail work that's going to be around the face. And again, this could be wet, it could be dry. If you do it wet, I would do it with a razor so that I could create a lot of soft sort of pieces that are going to be disconnected from each other. If I'm doing it dry, then I could even do it just like this. What would be your preference for you guys to learn? I think Christine's hair is perfect for me to just spritz a little bit of water so that I can mold the hair and manipulate it a little bit more. If you prefer seeing it, I definitely don't want to do it wet. If you prefer seeing it with a razor, then I would do it wet. If you want to see it more in a drier state, if you use scissors, then I would do it this way. There's 3 of you guys, so
Yeah.
That's fine.
drier. Okay. So in that case, I'm gonna separate the areas and then go with almost like little zones of where I'm going to cut first. So fringe, I'm gonna take a fringe from the top of the round of the head to right to the outside of the eyebrow. And that's going to be my little triangle that I'm gonna create for the curtain fringe. Now, how wide do you want it to be? And how creative you want this to be would tell me how far I'm going to take that section. So if I want something to be a little bit more classic, I'm going to take my section more so to the top of the eyebrow. So top of the arch of the eyebrow, so the highest point. If I want it to be a little bit more creative, I'm going to take it to the outside of the eyebrow. If I want it to be very significant, I'm going to take it to the right past the recession line in here. When I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I'm not only taking a triangle that's going to be symmetrical, but more importantly, where it's falling on the face, right? Because sometimes being a precision hairdresser, I have to make everything so perfect and so lined up, but it doesn't make sense to have a perfect line if it's imperfect on someone's face. So if Christine's eyebrow is a little bit longer, a little bit higher, a little wider, whatever it is, I want the fringe to emphasize and make it perfect for her face. All right, so if I want the middle a little bit shorter, I am going to cut that part first. I'm going to separate in the middle first. And then create a smaller triangle for the center. I find that freshly washed hair, wet is the best, but freshly washed hair, dry haircut becomes, because they're so fluffy and so laid perfectly, you cut it and then it's just, it's just there. When there's a little bit of natural oil, you can really place it and see what needs to be cut, where it needs to be shorter, so it's really kind of working well for us. So I'm going to stand directly in front. Jake, if you're okay, can you hold the phone a little bit closer? You guys feel like you're covering me? I showered this morning today, so you can stand right next to me. Alright, so I'm going to do middle first, and I'm going to combine it together just a little tiny bit. I want that little bit of over direction. It's going to be right in the outsides. And now I'm going to go in and then take a little bit of that peak. I don't have to make it too perfect. I just want that middle to be shorter. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to pay attention to how it's falling. I'm going to take that little middle piece right here. Lift it up a little bit higher. When I lift it up, I'm creating more of a textured line. Now I'm going to go in and then create little peaks. So this way, it will bounce up and separate nicely from it. Now all the little touches here and whatever we do here, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It just needs to create the shape that I'm looking for. And then I can do all the detail after we style the hair. So this length is looking good. is created by over-directing hair into the center and by creating a short to long cutting line. Now on the second section, diagonal section, I'm gonna lift it up higher because I want that hair underneath not to reach my cutting line. I wanna use it as a guide, but this hair right here is not actually reaching. See how it's not in my fingers, it's just barely holding on. And then I'm gonna do point cutting, but I never point cut. I shouldn't say never because never is never. But I try not to point cut by creating really harsh lines in the hair. I find that when I go in and really dig into it, really deep, those harsh lines grow out just as hard as they were in the workplace. If you go in and you go softer, so lift it up, and you go softer, and then if you need it to be deeper, you could just go in a little bit more. Those create a very natural, soft sort of petals through the hair. You guys follow Jane, Jane?
Yeah.
Something. She calls them petals, where it kind of creates shorter to longer effect, which creates these little guys that kind of stick out naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you go in and make it aggressive, you have harsh line that's in between the short and long line. And then with the third section, I'm going to lift that even higher, follow the guide that I created underneath, and again, really soft. When I'm point cutting, I'm really making sure that my scissor is almost parallel to the grains of the hair. So if the hair is curly and my scissor goes in like this, I'm most likely going to chop off a decent amount, chunk of the curl. So you want to make sure that you see the ends as you cut it. So we'll lift that up a little higher. So if we go diagonal, you see how much of a harsher line that is. So that you want to go pretty much parallel to the hair. And then with each subsection, I'm going to cross-check it to see how that hair is reacting and how it's falling. Is it too heavy? Is it looking good? And okay. So now the next section, check for balance, make sure that's looking good. Now the next section is if I want the shorter pieces so that your ponytail looks really good, and I find that whoever started that trend like 2 years ago is the biggest genius in the hair world, because we're now allowing our clients to wear hair back in the ponytail and still look good, right? Because ponytails are harsh, they kind of hide all of the haircuts. So if I want it to be a little more on the classic side, I'm gonna go just above the hairline, just a little bit above the hairline right here, and then to the front of the ear, and that's gonna give us a very subtle, but still very noticeable, face frame. If I want it to be a little bit more exaggerated and thicker, and a client wants to feel like they almost have like a little French bob situation that's happening here, I can go from the top of the fringe to the top of the ear. So something like that. And you can see the density, how that's changing if I made this finer. So I think it's a little too much because it kind of takes away from the rest of the haircut. I think if this was really long and we had really short layers in here, this would be amazing because it's almost like 2 haircuts in one. You could bring this up, you have a little bob that maybe Christine can style it like this, and with that bone structure, oh my God. Perfect face, perfect bone structure, perfect hair, perfect personality, right?
Lucky.
So, but I think it's a little too much for the, I don't want this to take attention and space away from the rest of the haircut. So I'm gonna go somewhere in the middle. I want it to be noticeable enough, but not hidden when that hair is down. So that's a big thing. And I find when this became popular, that it's technically creating a hole in your face frame. And so I had to learn how to just stop being such a perfectionist and do create that hole, because if I marry this length to the overall length, then this is not noticeable enough. So I would do it, and then I would blow dry it, and then I would do a little more, and then I'd look, and then I would do a little more, and it would take me like 10 minutes to cut one little piece because I was a scaredy cat. So now I learned that just go for it was the worst case scenario. Christine is never going to see me again, so
Thank you.
there's no worst case scenario. I will see you again at some point in our lives. So here, the same thing, I'm going to check the balance of this side looks a little tiny bit longer. So I have to make sure that it's not my sectioning, right? Where is that length coming from? Did I section that farther away? So this one is right to the front of the ear, and this hair is falling right at the bottom of the hairline before it goes up. So this side is a little tiny bit farther back, so it has more hair, which means that's why it's a little longer. So I'm gonna check that in. Make sure. Now, if the hair is misbehaving, see how it's kind of, I try to place it and it doesn't really listen. So I'm gonna spritz a little tiny bit of water, but very topical, so just like a little mist, because I don't want that hair to be wet. I just want to be able to manipulate it and place it wherever I want to see it. So I'm going to be right in front, so if you go to the right and to the left. All right, so now we have these lengths in here, then the length that's underneath, and you guys can see how the side is a little tiny bit heavier and a little bit longer. So on texture here like this, you kind of, a lot of things can kind of disappear and not make that much of a big deal, but you really want to make sure that if we styling this hair and this right here, this wing is going to come to here, the first hair that's going to fall around the face, this has to be balanced, right? Because that is such a emphasis of the haircut. So I think this length is really lovely. I'm going to do a little tiny trim. When was the last time you had a haircut?
Like a little trim maybe like a month ago.
Okay,
And like a full cut was like maybe 3 months ago.
okay, so the trim was more so in front.
Yeah, I think so.
So a month, which means hair grew about ½ an inch. So I know these pieces were not that much shorter. And I think it's really important to not make it too perfect and then create short and then long, short and then long. So if I go a little bit deeper in here, and then move a little bit, so this way the hair can behave and separate from each little petal. Now if I want to be a little more exaggerated, I can hold, and then my scissor is going to go open and close, right into the length that I want to see. Let me split this out a little bit. And now to encourage the hair to go forward, I'm going to grab this section and then cut a little bit of shorter pieces right behind that section. Short hair is going to push the long hair, so if I grab this and I do a little tiny bit underneath, that's going to push it forward. Now on this side, get rid of that little fringe piece. Place it right on the face, so I'm looking right at the cheekbone. Section, and again, raise it up a little bit so it's easier for me to create short to long. And then my starting point is I'm using this little guide right here, not to go any shorter than that. And then open and close as I'm sliding gently through the hair, leaving just enough of density on the bottom. Because I want that hair to come forward, which means it needs to be thick enough. And then right underneath, so I'm going to do the same thing, squeeze the scissor underneath the section. And little tiny strokes. Okay, forward. So we're gonna do this a little longer. I find that this is the emphasis of the haircut. I'm gonna spend most of my time perfecting this, because I know the rest of the haircut is gonna go so quick, right? I'm not touching the length, I need to do internal, and sort of cutting from here to here to here, and the rest is already there. So, one, I find that this little detail work, not that I'm trying to take more time creating it, because I don't wanna, it's not about, oh, I spend more time, which means your haircut is gonna be better. But if a client feels like they rushed through the most important haircut, it took me 7 minutes to do the entire haircut, because I could do this in 7 minutes. I mean, sure, everyone's great, just do the back and put it together. You know, then the client feels like, well, you know, your haircut price is this, and it's supposed to be an hour. You know, you can't, I feel like you just didn't give me enough for the money that I spent. Even if it's the most amazing haircut and they love it, you still want that human interaction for the hour that they paid for 45 minutes, whatever how long your haircuts are. I work off an hour for my haircuts, it goes to scalp massage, you know, full consultation, the styling. So sometimes I finish in 20 minutes. What am I gonna do for the rest of the time, right? 20 minutes is a really fast haircut. So then I fluff and then, you know, we can have conversations during that time. So it kind of fills space. But these parts right here, one, they're really fun for me. So if I know the haircut is gonna be fast, I'm gonna spend a little extra time playing because, you know, if I do trims for the rest of the day, well, at least I got a little extra time to spend doing something a little more fun. And then this way the client feels really good. How do you feel about the length? How do you feel about these pieces? I think these pieces could be a little bit shorter. What do you think? What do you like them?
I think it looks great. Can you do my bangs every morning?
I mean, honestly, I just fluff them. This is called fluffing.
I try to do that. It looks better when you do it.
Yeah, well, you know, it is my job. So, but I will give you a little hint on how to make them look as good as we do. And you get a present. It's nice to get a present. Before saying I give you a present, I'm gonna actually have, yes, good, okay. So, because you have a little bit, it's not even a cowlick, you know, you have whatever you have. So you're gonna brush your hair with whatever you have. It doesn't have to be a fancy comb. As long as your fingers are past, your hand is past your hairline, you no longer have any cowlicks or anything that's happening there. Then you're gonna push it to the right, push it to the left, and you're gonna create a little gap right there. Then you're gonna place your finger past your hairline, hold it, and then this is your present. I hope you didn't get too overly excited. And then you're gonna pin it right in place right here. When you let go, see how there's no separation here? So which means this is going to be the flattest part of your fringe. Now, you could also, if you want these guys to wing out, you could do one of these, and then you could pin it. But your hair naturally wants to go that way, so I don't think you need to do any more work, but you can. And then you would do this when your hair is damp. So not when it's dry, because it's not going to do anything when it's dry. And then you just leave it like this. When it's almost dry, then you're gonna take it out, and all you have to do is just fluff on the top, and you're good to go.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna fluff a little tiny because your hair is on the drier side, so it doesn't go too flat. All right, so now we like this. Now you're gonna make the rest of the shape work. So we know we have the length in here. So we like the length in here. I like the length here as well. I think it just needs to be a little reshaping. So I'm gonna separate the front from the back. Right where the hairline goes up. So right behind the ear, and then from this point, I'm because I want to see the overall length of the hair. I'm coming to this side as well.
Okay.
Jake, you're gonna know how to do hair at the end of the day. You're gonna be the
I've learned
best.
so much today.
Yeah, and not only that, you're gonna be the best videographer. We could just pack up the kids, all 4 of them, your kids, my kids, and maybe just travel the world teaching.
Christine doesn't let me stick around when she's cutting hair, so this is the most I've learned.
My husband, who is a bald man, who is definitely not a styling nothing. He doesn't know how to match 2 outfits together. Or, you know. And during COVID days, we were sitting on the couch and I was like revamping all of my educational manuals for the salon. He's like, babe, I feel like I could cut hair. So he thought, because he has heard me talk about hair and he was helping me videotape all the YouTube videos that I was putting out during COVID, that he thinks that he learned enough that he can cut hair. And he is so convinced that he can do it.
Did you give him a mannequin?
I did, because I didn't want to waste it. He thinks that you should have a competition. Who can do a bob better? Him cutting hair or me with my eyes closed? Because he says all the time, you talk about it like you could probably do this in your sleep. And I go, I can't, because I've done this so much. So, that's
Has it
why
happened yet?
I'm afraid that I'm gonna cut my fingers and I'm gonna bleed all over the place and I
That's
can't do blood, so it has not happened. So then of course, I start talking to clients about it. What if we did a fundraiser where non-hairdressers would cut hair on a mannequin head, not humans, and then we created teams. I'm giving all my secrets away. Created teams where it's like, let's say, you know, I'm on Jake's team and Jake is gonna do a haircut and you raise money. Like, you know, so you're supporting your team. How funny would that be?
That's a
And
great
how,
idea.
and you know, we would have ambulance up outside. I'm not trying their fingers. All right, so here's my length. From here, I already know the front is on the shorter side, so I'm not using that as a guide. I'm going to bring this up towards the ceiling. And then visually, I want to create length that's gonna go from whatever I think should be the shortest piece on the top and merge it with the length that is going to work for the bottom. So if I connect this length up here to this length here, by the time this drops here, see how it's gonna jump up quite a bit? That's why we left so much hair in the front, so we know exactly what we need to connect to, which means I can't connect it to this guy. I need to connect it to a much higher section here. And if I connect this piece to here, all of this is going to be left alone. And now I'm okay with the density that's left here, right? So your first section becomes more of an approximate, and you're going to figure out where you should connect the dots, point A and where your point B is going to be. Now, if I bring it to the side here, over direction is going to create length. So if I go to the side and then, oh no. Well, you know what? Oh, I have another one that we can disinfect that one. So if I bring this to the side and I bring the other one to the side, I'm going to create a peak right in the center. When that peak falls down, it's going to give me a weak point. So when you're taking a vertical section and creating shapes that need to be shortest on the top, your over direction, your elevation should always be directly up. So this way you're creating the shortest piece right on top. Now how far forward I'm bringing it in comparison and how far back I'm going to bring it. I'm going to bring it exactly where that hair grows from. Bring it, it's called on base. So in front, I'm going to point cut into it because I want to create a little softness in there. I don't want any harsh lines. And then from here, point cut until I meet the length that I want to see. So at this point, I'm gonna bring it up again, and I'm gonna check my cutting line in the mirror. So my cutting line is pretty square, my fingers are parallel to the ceiling, but my knuckle's just a little tiny bit higher. So when I pick up this side, I know exactly how to hold my fingers. Right? So it's gonna be a little tiny, my fingertips gonna be a little tiny bit higher than my knuckles, but almost parallel to the ceiling. I'm gonna bring this up again. Here's the shortest piece that I see right there. One cut into it, and then whatever reaches is what's going to reach. So right over here, I have a little tiny bit more texture. You see how none of that hair is reaching? So I'm gonna go back to my original, my first section here. Bring this out. And then right over here, I'm gonna create a little tiny bit more texture. If I'm doing a wet to dry haircut, I wanna make sure that as I'm checking, as I'm cutting, I'm checking where that hair is falling, because sometimes you don't even know. If Christine washed her hair, I'm not reaching to remove her hair. At this point, I'm gonna wet her down a little bit and then style her. And textures like this, I find that it's easier and better to style by adding a little bit of water instead of wetting back, going back to the sink, wetting down 100%, restyling. Like Sarah's hair could have probably been better for her curls if she wanted to see more structure, if it was styled from the wet state, where Christine's hair is better when it's just a little fluff and then you just, shrink it and go. So directly up from where it grows, here's my guide underneath. If it's a decent amount of hair that I'm cutting off, I'm gonna remove the length first, so I can go a little bit more diagonal into the hair, and then cut into it a little deeper. So now, do you guys notice the difference between how I was point cutting between the first section and this section? The first section was very shallow, very precise, where on this section, because it's thicker, I went in and it kind of created a little skinnier, and then out, and then skinnier and out. So that creates a little bit more peaks and valleys in the haircut, instead of making it just like a textured, serrated sort of cutting line. I think the word serrated took me years to remember, and it was a word that someone taught me when talking about a razor haircut. And I'm like, what the hell is serrated? And now that I know what the word is, I'm like, oh, what a perfect word to describe it. And every time I use it, I'm like, oh, my foreign brain finally learned a word. So here, and I'm gonna go a little deeper. This side is definitely heavier. So either it was textured less last time, it could be more hair on this side. What a curl might be, do you sleep on this side?
I'm all over the place, I'm a mess.
So, no, who knows why. The most important part is that I make it work. And then I'm not touching any of that length right there, because that is going to be my overall length that I'm going to leave alone. And then go in a little bit deeper. So now I'm going to push that hair forward. I'm going to make sure that I'm checking for balance. So I'm checking where that hair is falling and how it's falling. So not only am I checking for the balance this way, but I'm also checking when I move my hands the same way. Does one floppy and then the other one has softer movement? Softer movement, that means that hair has texture in it. So I want to make sure that I create the same amount of texture throughout the haircut. So with each section, I go up, directly up from where it grows, because I want to make sure that I'm creating more length in the back of the section than the front. I want it to be following the head shape. Remove the length first, and now I'm going to go in. So instead of going like this, I'm going more like that. If I need to go a little deeper and then create a little more of these little holes sort of in between, then I could do so as well. This is definitely much more of a visual still very precise. I think precision in my mind is now not necessarily how clean the lines are, but more of a mental approach that I take to haircut. If I cut clean but textured line, to me it's still a precise haircut. Where if I take a little piece of there and then here and then come back there and come back here and I'm kind of wishy-washy all over the place, that to me that's not a precise haircut because the approach was a little bit more like ADD, like very, you know, very artistic. But in hair world, artistic could mean that you could miss a spot, right? Because if that hair is being restyled differently the next day, how is that going to fall? So it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. I think it depends on the type of stylist you are and how you work. I find that it's easier for me to follow what I'm doing if I see exactly what I did and how I did it and what was the point of me doing it. So when I push hair, I'm also going to check for the balance and the overall length. I heard kids. And you can see how the shape is starting to fall, right? It looked good to begin with, but now I'm emphasizing. And it actually looks longer, right? Because I took the weight from here. So the shape is falling fuller and then kind of cascading down into that perfect length that we already have down there. All right, so now I'm going to use the guide that I created here. The only thing that's going to change is now hairline is much lower here, which means I have more hair to work with, right? I have more square footage to cover. So if I have a guide that I created on top of the head and connected it to a point on the head that was somewhere up here, right? Because I wanted to make sure that I leave enough length from the round of the head to the hairline untouched so that I don't create a hole. That hairline is now all the way down here. If I connect from here to here, that is a significant amount of hair that I'm not touching, which means it's going to be really heavy. So which means I have to take my vertical section, I cut it to the guide that I already created. And then I'm going to subsection hair that falls to the front and then create a separate guide here. So this is going to be a disconnected haircut because the hair that's in the back needs to be addressed differently than the hair that's in the front. And I find that this is a pretty big spot that we kind of hit the mark. You know, hair around the face is way more important than the hair in the back. You guys agree? Because it's what a client sees. Mm-hmm. And then we get to the back and there's double amount of hair and we're like, yeah, it's fine. It's good. It's back there. No one
My
really
client
looks.
tells you, well, I don't see the back anyway.
Yeah. And then, you know, you show them a mirror and they're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. I've never seen the back of my head. Okay, you're right. But, you know, you want to make sure. Unless they have really, really nice butt, you want that back of the head to look just as good as the front. All right, so continue. Here's my guide underneath. So I'm matching up to the guide. And now I'm going to subsection hair that's falling towards the front. And I'm going to recut this. The top is already good. I'm going to bring this out slightly more parallel to the floor. And you see how this right here, there's that corner? That's from the line technique. If I bring this hair down, all of it is going to match up, right? So because I'm bringing it at a higher elevation than it was originally cut, that's why we're seeing that corner. I'm going to do this section a little tiny bit cleaner. Get rid of that. A little bit more. Here it is. I want to get rid of that hair from my fingers. And I'm going to go in and out, right into that kind of corner. So there's a little bit of corner left, but that corner is now like this, right? So when it falls, it's going to be much skinnier. So now I have a guide For the back of the head, easy. I have to do the same exact thing on the opposite side, and somehow check that the balance of the haircut that I left on the bottom that it wasn't a precise line is going to be the same, which is the hardest part, right? Because we're creating a textured line, and then we have to somehow figure out how we're gonna check it. So here's my section. I'm gonna stand in the front because it's going to be easier for me to cut short to long. You guys can see my guide. So sometimes if it's a thin section, I can go like this, creates the same, very similar, I should say, end result is if I point cut into it, I find because the hair is not straight, it's harder for me to point cut into it without taking chunks. So this is kind of just giving me an easier way to get to the hair that I need to cut. I'm gonna take a little bit more, because the section that I just held in my hand is most likely going to be all of the hair that I'm going to subsection. So directly up, here's a little bit of that guide that I already cut. Bring it out. You can see the corner of my fingers, yeah. Then I'm going to subsection this. Check that I like the density that I'm leaving here. And then from this point is where I'm going to slide. So here's that hair that fell out of my fingers. So I'm going to start right from that length. You can see exactly where that length is dropping off. And I'm going to go in and out. As I'm going into the hair and out of the hair, I'm scooping and I'm moving farther away. So the length that I'm creating is going to go in and out like a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
So now, this is where I cut on both sides. I'm going to push this forward and I'm going to check the balance of the haircut. Because if the balance is not good here, that means I'm going to use the imbalanced guide for the back of the head. So it's looking much skinny in here, so I think that's good. I'm going to let that hair fall back, and I'm going to check to see where it's falling. And you can see how that's much skinnier in here. So I think we're good. Now from this point, I'm going to take vertical sections that are going to pivot from the top of the head. The top of the head is going to be the part that's already cut. So that's the guide that's coming from the front. When it falls back, I know exactly where that needs to go. And I'm going to do both sides at the same time. I want to make sure that I'm not cutting right side and left side separate, because if I am slightly unbalanced, I want to catch it in the middle, not by the shoulder. Because if I catch it by the shoulder, I'm gonna have to, one, redo 3/4 of the haircut, and two, potentially create a hole, which is going to be really difficult for me to fix. All right, so bring it all the way up. Here's my guide. I'm seeing a little bit of shortage. You guys see how the density is changing right over here?
Yeah.
So right over here, last haircut, unless there's some kind of growth that maybe, 2 years ago, maybe you lost some hair and it's growing back, but most likely this hair right here that I could easily tease, maybe a little thinning shear that was used, maybe a little razor, something that was happening. So I want to be cautious not to accidentally use that as a guide, because if I see it, then wait a minute, is that the piece that I want to use? So if I'm not sure, just pick up more of the hair from the previous section and cut it. So sometimes we do like these internal crown movement and layers to make sure that you get a lot of volume. So, and I do that all the way at the end of the haircut, because it could really mess up your guide by not being so visible, right? Because you could see how thin the guide is here in comparison to, let's say, second or third section in the front, where it was like almost more of a blunt line that you were seeing that I was cutting off. So anything that's going to be more creative, makes your guide skinnier and softer and harder to see. And if your struggle is balance and you're struggling with keeping the right side even to the left side, I would say all the fun stuff that happens in the haircut should be left for afterwards. So sometimes, if I know this would be really difficult for me to find the balance, let's say the hair is longer and it's curly and it's bouncing up a lot more, then I would do internal first, get that guide going, and then go ahead and then separate it again and do this as a second step. Because working here and then working here, I have to kind of switch my mind to do it, switch my, where I'm standing, how I'm holding the hair, and that could be a little confusing sometimes too. All right, so all the way up to make sure. So this side feels a little, right in here, feels a little bit finer, which makes my life a little bit easier cutting it. But instead of going up into it, I went down so that I could create a little bit of a heavier cutting line. Right, so I find that the beauty of a dry haircut and a razor haircut is we're playing this role of the fix and change natural imperfections in people's hair. So what do I mean by that? If someone's got more hair on one side and a little less hair on the other side, I am able to see exactly what needs to be changed as I'm cutting, so I don't have to do anything in the end. How amazing is that? If someone's curl pattern is stronger on one side than the other, then I could just do that as I'm working. Same way here. It's almost Tia, I think, the other girl's, right? Tia, I think the girl that was here. She asked, when would I do refining? So on Christine's hair, I could see exactly where that hair is falling. And right over here, we have slightly longer bits, that corner that kind of misbehaves. So I could go ahead and then clean that up, and that is my refining right here. So, and I'm checking, I keep checking for balance to really make sure that the balance of the haircut is good. Because once I'm done with this, I'm gonna style it, and if I have major things to change and to fix of the haircut, then I'm gonna disturb the styling. I certainly don't want that to happen. That's a weird haircut right here, right? Cut that off. Very creative. You could just start a trend. All right, so right over here, a little tiny bit. And I'm always checking front to make sure that the width of the hair in here is good. So right over here, I feeling a little bit heavier. So I'm gonna check where's that hair coming from. So right here, you guys see how that has more movement? And then right here, it's a little tiny bit bigger. So this part is becoming a little bit straighter. So I'm going to change my approach a bit. I'm going to drop this down. You guys see the difference? How much hair I cut off of here, and then I drop this part down, and I don't really need to cut anything, right? Because it's just kind of, it kind of works. So, sometimes you got to step away to see, what there is to keep. So I'm just going to do a little tiny bit to encourage a little more of the curl formation in here. But not take it as technical as the rest, right? A few little snips, and look how much skinny and curly I got. Sometimes less is more. Okay. So same thing here. It feels a little heavy, but nowhere near as much as here. So I'm going to pick up these little guys right here, trim them up a little bit. And then I can pick up it. taking a wider section, because you're over directing hair into the center, it protects the outside. So if I knew I already cut these areas here, and I want to make sure that I accidentally cut that too short, I could over direct it away from where it grows to make sure that we're good. So right over here, it just feels a little heavy. And then this little section, I could pick up this whole little crown area. I know the right side and the left side was already cut. So I'm going to bring this up. Same guide as I used before. So here's my shortest piece on this side, shortest piece on the other side. I'm going to remove it because it's pretty textured, so I want to make sure that it's healthy. And then I can go in and then point cut a little more into it. And if I want a little bit more movement right here, I'm going to bring that out a little bit more. I find it pretty amazing that you can, you need to sweep a little bit, but you can change the entire haircut, and then you look on the floor and there's really not that much hair. So it's like, what did I even cut? But it looks so different, right? So I think dry haircuts sometimes for clients that are, kind of growing the hair out, they're afraid to cut their length. You do it dry, so you could pick the pieces of hair that need to be cut and then leave the rest alone. Where when it's dry, when it's wet, and you're doing a classic haircut, you're kind of cutting it more so, wherever the section is what you're gonna cut.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I feel like I had never even heard of a dry haircut until like a couple of years ago. Is that true? Like, is dry haircutting something that's sort of emerged over the past several years, or am I just?
I think it became much more popular. There's a man whose name is John Sahag, who I'm pretty positive he passed away like 20 years ago. He had a salon in the city, in New York City, that did only dry cutting. I want to say in the 80s, 70s. If I'm misquoting the years, Christine would actually know. His name was pretty much just as big as Vidal Sassoon, and all he did, his theory of hair, all he did was just dry cutting. So, curly cuts, that's only, that's like a few years. Razor cuts were huge, then they kind of disappeared and then came back. So nothing is new, it's just the approach is a little bit different now, and I think partially COVID gave us the ability to wear our hair a little more free and natural, less styling, less flat iron, just your own personality kind of. And I think that's when dry haircuts and razor haircuts became really, really popular. All of my haircuts, I do, I'm going to say 10% of my clients will come in with texture like yours, and I'll spritz them down, especially if they have clean hair, and I will do exactly what I'm doing, and then I just restyle, either shampoo restyle or just spritz and restyle. Then I have, another maybe 20, 30 clients that will come in, I will blow dry the hair perfectly straight, and then cut the hair dry. And then, but 100% of my clients will get dry cut after their wet cut. So dry cut becomes all your finishing touches, all your, perfecting it to make sure that the balance is perfect and everything looks exactly how it should. And that's your customization word. So taking it out, I'm checking. When I'm taking my fingers, I'm checking for the density. And you can see the density if one side feels heavier than the other. And then if I lift here and I'm checking, then I'm checking for these areas where they're going to fall. If I lift and bring it down, then I'm checking a different part. So if I'm concerned about the overall length not matching, I'm going to bring it lower. If I'm bringing it out here, and I'm going to pull up this. So when I do this, I have a conversation with the client, because otherwise, I'm gonna hyper focus. Does this hair and this hair actually doesn't match pretty perfectly, but you know, that doesn't always happen. So, but I don't wanna hyper focus on it, because it's not a precision clean line. This is about where the weight of the hair is falling, and then where am I seeing the curls form. So I could see the silhouette of the haircut is falling here, then these layers are falling just below, and then what is the shape? Is one shape going in like this, the other shape is going out like that, and that's going to tell me what I did in my overall vertical shape. And then the back, you know, you can be as aggressive as you want to be to check. So I see a little tiny bit, right where I was a little more conservative with the hair where it was straighter. I definitely can take a little bit more, and you can see how it's sticking out. You remember how it was that corner that we were seeing in the haircut? I find that the whole movement of curly cuts came so quick, and unfortunately because of that and the lack of education, because you have a bunch of curly style specialists that are like, oh, there's no education, I'm going to teach. And just because you know how to cut hair doesn't mean that you can teach hair. And I've taken, you know, I wasted so much of my money, of my staff's money, of my staff's time, having someone come out and teach, and their end result is gorgeous. But what did I learn? You know, they just went like how I did this, but the entire haircut. So then you go home and you're like, well, I'm not gonna pick a random piece and start cutting, because they're visual people and that's how they cut. But how does it translate when you're trying to learn and you're trying to, you know, understand how to get that shape into the hair? So I find that curly cuts are, you know, you have to have the experience playing with the hair and making it, you know, taking a three-dimensional shape and kind of making it look amazing. Look at that, wow, right? Like, just hand styling, slightly dirty, claw clip hair, and it's pretty amazing. So, okay, nice to meet you, enjoy your hair. See you in 4 weeks for a bank trip. So, as far as styling, I think we're gonna spritz down a little bit, because I want to encourage, but then I just want to see a little bit more of a wave, so that, because the wavier it is, the skinnier it's going to be, right? I want to see fullness and volume, but be fluffing it instead of it coming out because I just ran my fingers through it a hundred times. All right, so I need, we're going to get a little water. Hi guys. And you brought your hair down with me today. Sarah was sad that she missed you.
Sarah, Miss Sarah.
How are you doing?
Good.
All right, so just enough of water that I can manipulate and change the shape of the hair, but without making it soaking wet, so that I don't have to spend more time on it than it needs to. As far as product, what do we want to put in? Should we put some high something? Hydrating oil? Sounds great, right?
Whatever you think.
All right, so I'm going to work this in. And then, do you have curl foam? You do, perfect. A new one? You sure? So, do you use, Laura, Yes. Okay, so curl foam, I find it is the weirdest and the most amazing product, right? You take it out and it looks like soap, and then you put it in the hair and it disappears and it looks amazing after. So I use a little bit at a time. I work it through my fingers, through my hands first, and then I work it into the hair. And I don't try to be too perfect with it because we're not looking for the most perfect set of waves. And then kind of just shake and bake. Rake my fingers through it, and then shake it through. If I form a curl going the wrong way, you know, I'll shake it out again, and then see how it wants to behave. How long have you guys had a worm in here?
Since last year, I would say.
It is not a popular line in New Jersey, and I discovered it by total mistake, but I love it.
We really love it and we love the price.
Yes.
Sure.
We actually charge way more than 100% markup on it, because it's just so inexpensive that I feel like people would think that it's just a cheap line.
Good. It's so shaky, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because when they buy like 3-4 products and it's not even $100, they're like,
Yeah, I was like, oh, I think you didn't charge me for one of them.
yeah. Why is it so cheap?
And compare what these are.
Right. Well, I guess we can mark it up to that.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, because I think the products were like $8, something like that, so you should be selling for 16. I think we have it at like 24 or something like that.
Yeah.
But then you have Kevin Murphy products that are like 33.
And we got rid of that. Just didn't sell.
Just kept the nice capes, right?
Yeah, just an escape. Yeah.
Yeah, we have few Kevin Murphy products. We have all of their shampoos because we do love their shampoos. I think they're amazing. We have anti-gravity, we have body mass, we have freehold. That is all that we have left. And I was such a Kevin Murphy lover for like the longest time. But, you know, every 6 months you get an email, price is going up.
Yeah.
You guys have any questions about this haircut? In general, anything that's hair related or not hair related? I'll start pretty thorough. With the conversation. Hopefully I got all the questions right. If anything pops up for you guys later, you know how to reach me. Jake, we're doing good on there? You getting New Jersey water sprayed on you? I hope you're excited. Oh, yeah? Where in New Jersey?
Yeah, why is it escaping me? I only lived there for a year. Northern Jersey. I don't know why I can't remember the name of my place now. Because of an R. I don't know.
Not that important, right?
I guess not.
Rutherford.
What's that?
Was it Rutherford?
No, it was like
Ridgewood.
Ringwood.
Ridgewood. That's it. Ridgewood.
Yes, that is North Jersey. It's a very nice area. Very different from here.
Not so good. Should I get, what is this? This is curl foam?
Curl foam by a worm. Yep, it's a coconut water-based product.
Cute.
Very light. It gets a little crunchy, especially if you do this when your hair is wet. This will take you 2 seconds. Run
So
your,
just kind of scrunch it in.
yeah, 'cause it's like you can see it's so light and so foamy. Just literally just rake your fingers through and then scrunch right to
That's
it.
all I'm capable of.
Well,
So that's good.
luckily for you, you got amazing hair that just works for the lack of styling.
Oh, good.
And then do you normally diffuse or you air dry?
Air dry.
Perfect. So then you want to put all the products in, scrunching it all in. You want to see the shape that you want to see in the hair. Maybe push some of these guys a little out, and then taper this in, and then kind of like pull so that this doesn't shrink up as much, and then put the clips in here. You can even put a couple more clips up here so that you get a lot of body, and then you're good to go. Cool. All right. Another diffuser. See how long it takes me to see this one out of the box. So when you are diffusing, if you, yes, it's chicken. So if you end up diffusing your hair, you want to hover over first when it's wet, and try not to touch it. If the air flow is pointing up and the hair is half dry, it's going to create curls. So you want to point down and then kind of hover over this way. When the hair is almost dry, that's when you can do a little bit more aggressive because it will encourage your curl to tighten up a little more. And then always diffuse on medium airflow so that your hair doesn't fly around too much. And sometimes they're popular clip right here, so they get a lot of volume. Not bad for a kid. As soon as I asked Christine to help me find a model, I was like, I got the perfect person. So then she sent me either your Instagram, I think was up on the reel, and I'm like, I don't care if she wants a trim. Great, perfect hair, perfect. So you're an artist? What's your favorite, thing to do? Painting?
I'm big into painting right now. Cutting shapes on plywood and painting them.
Always been creative? Is that from the childhood?
What's that?
The creativity, you feel like that was from the childhood?
Yeah.
Do you have a regular hairdresser that you normally go to?
I just started going to somebody that I like.
The last haircut was really nice.
What's that?
Oh, the haircut that you just had is
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah, I like what she's does, so it took me a while to find somebody.
And what is that product that you're using?
So this is, it's a new line called BOB, back of the bottle, and this is texture spray. It is very, very light. I'm still playing around with these products. This will be similar to the dry texture spray, but wet form, so it's a little tiny bit crunchy here. So I spray it in, and then I put a little heat to it to kind of soften it up a little. Very, very clean on. It is from Canada, the guy's name, like a session stylist. You know who Lupe, she's a colorist, she's a creator. So she's not a straight up color line. So they are co-founders together with the color line, and the guy, created this line. So their education is amazing, and they have a level gathering in Toronto, well, somewhere in Canada, Montreal, Toronto, which for you guys will be really convenient. Yeah, so, I mean, it's a really nice line here. Price point is a little, I think it's $33 for products, but the bottles are huge, so, and a little bit goes along the way. Straight.
So cute. So cute.
Me too. At some point they are going to go out of style, and they're all going to be heartbroken because they're
Right?
the most flattering.
But doesn't seem like it's going away. I mean, it's been around for a little while.
We got Sabrina. What's her name? The singer, Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
Oh my God, those bubbly bangs. I mean, they don't look good on anyone.
Yeah, like eight.
Yeah. So when that became popular and everyone's bringing her color and her bangs, I'm like, come on, not gonna look good, It's just not.
But they still want it.
You want it, well then you just gently encourage them to not ruin my haircut. Hairspray, totally fine on the hair, as long as it's, not a super stiff one. Not Aquanet. Anyone?
Definitely around that in high school. I don't know what I was doing.
So cute. Show off a little more.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, and then naturally.
It's just too short. Need to grow it out first.
Okay. Let's show you the rest of the haircut. Hold on to the mirror. I'm gonna spin around a bit. Here's your profile.
Beautiful. Looks great. Wow. I love it.
Awesome.
Gem Jet. That was what you said the first time.
Okay.
We're back.
We're back.
Time is a flat circle.
This is like exactly like what we did when we cut your hair short for the first time.
Yeah.
That's because it's a
Wasn't
full
that the
Because
circle.
we are like,
Oh no, I went to one. Yeah.
we cut your hair, the first time we cut
The
your
first time
hair,
was a long
it was
cut.
long. But it was
My
your
hair was
first,
down to here. I was getting it cut like once every couple years.
it was your first haircut
I
in
was
like
like
2
not
years.
going to get haircuts regularly at all.
Yeah.
And then we did a long cut, and then I had like a total existential crisis and had a haircut the next day, and I was like, do whatever you want. And Christine cut off all of my hair. I was like, I trust you. I had seen you one time. I was like, I trust you completely, and I was
Look, I just
correct.
met you, but I trust you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we basically did this.
It's
back.
so similar.
It's so similar. I think it was like a little shorter overall.
We went shorter with your layers, but
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and it was life changing. I felt immediately better.
You have the perfect face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Perfect.
Yeah.
I love
All
it.
right, well, let's shut this off, and then can I take a couple pictures of you?
Yeah.
Perfect.